محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. صحيح عن النواس بن سمعان رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: ما من قلب إلا بين إصبعين من أصابع الرحمن إن أشاء أقامه وإن شاء أقامه وإن شاء أزاغه. Tonight's hadith comes to us from the collection of Imam Ibn Majah, where he narrates that the Prophet ﷺ says that there isn't a heart that is not between the two fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful. If He wishes, He will guide it, and if He wishes, He will send it astray. And this hadith is found with an authentic chain of narration. Before I share some reflections on this hadith, I do want to emphasize a self-evident observation, which is that when you ever see or hear in a narration of the Prophet ﷺ that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain attributes, or within the narration Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attributed to Him certain characteristics of the creation, like in this narration, fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَاللَّهِ الْمَثُلُ الْأَعْلَى, to Him is the highest example. We never compare or attribute to Him any human characteristics, but it's just figurative, used to emphasize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has control over the state of our hearts. I just wanted to make that disclaimer. So just a few reflections on this hadith. The thing that stands out the most to me in this hadith is that when you hear this hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the state of our hearts in His control, whether He wishes to guide us or misguide us, is that you never want to feel, especially when you feel like you've been guided, or you feel like you're very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you feel this sense of piety or righteousness has touched you, whether it's a moment in Ramadan or otherwise, where you just feel that, alhamdulillah, I've committed to this faith, I've committed to this way of living, that you can never rely on that feeling of strength in that moment to actually stay on the right path. That it's not within your power, it's not within your strength to stay on that guided path. And when we think of an example to really understand this, we think of the strongest person in this regard, spiritually speaking, and that's the Prophet ﷺ. What's the most common dua, or one of the most common du'as that the Prophet ﷺ would make? Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O turner of hearts, make my heart steadfast upon your religion. And this is the Prophet ﷺ saying this, that he himself, and this is his way of teaching us to never feel that or become complacent with that strength of spirituality. And this is his way of teaching us that no matter what state we feel our heart is in, that we can never become complacent. And he constantly made that dua, O turner of hearts, make my heart steadfast upon your religion. And that brings me to my second point, which is understanding the nature of our heart is key to understanding how our spirituality exists. Now the word heart in Arabic is qalb. And the root word of qalb is, if you listen to the dua the Prophet ﷺ made, O turner of hearts, ya muqallib al-qulub, the root of the word heart in Arabic means to flip or to turn, which points to the fact that our heart is never in the static state. It's never in a state where it just stays there. It's always turning, it's very dynamic, it's always changing. You could wake up feeling a certain way about something, go to bed feeling very differently about it. And you see in like cognitive behavioral therapy, I heard from Sheikh Adnan that there's this triangle with thoughts, actions, and emotions. Thoughts and actions you can control. Emotions you cannot control. And this points again to the fact that the heart is always changing, and how you feel about things are always changing. And understanding the nature of the heart as something that's very dynamic really ties in with that first point of never relying on our own strength and always asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance, and never becoming complacent. Never becoming complacent when we feel that moment of strength, of spiritual strength, or that this piety has touched us. And it's very important, and that's the second takeaway from this hadith. And the final reflection is that when you think about the request, the single request that every single one of us in this room makes the most in their lives, what is it? Like the single thing that you ask for the most. It's guidance. Every single day, at minimum 17 times a day, you stand before Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and you say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. You ask Him 17 times a day, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us on the straight path. There's nothing else, I can guarantee you, that you ask for more in your life. So it must be something that's very important and something that we should turn our attention to. And this final point of reflection is that there's this element of continuity in guidance. It's never this sort of one-time, all-inclusive package of guidance where you can say, oh, khalas, alhamdulillah, I've been guided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided me. I've reached the straight path. I've committed. You can't say that, because if you did, this idea of asking daily for guidance would not exist. But the reason it exists is because of the nature of the heart and the way that we exist. And it's this very dynamic state. It's always changing. And so really reflect on that when you're reading Surah Al-Fatiha, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, that this is something that you're constantly asking for, and you can never feel this false sense of security that alhamdulillah, khalas, I've been guided and I've made it. And you always, till the last breath, have to be asking for that. And just to summarize, the three reflections are that you can never rely on your own strength to remain steadfast upon your faith. Number two is that understanding the nature of the heart is key to understanding your spirituality in general. And the final point of reflection is to always think about the continuity aspect that's found within guidance, and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. Allahumma ya muqallib al-qulub thabbit qulubana ala dinik. يروي الإمام ابن ماجه في سننه بسند صحيح عن النواس بن سمعان رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: ما من قلب إلا بين إصبعين من أصابع الرحمن إن شاء أقامه وإن شاء أزاغه. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك.